Good morning, everyone. I am Elisa O'Brien, and I serve on your Board of Trustees. Thank you for bringing yourself to join in this service. Whether you are new to our church, a long-term member, or a member of another UU congregation passing through, we welcome you. Our church has been gathering in Richmond since long before the Civil War. We have welcomed a stranger, dared to ask bold questions, and tried to bend the arc of justice to this earth. In the times where we did not succeed, we have regrouped and tried again. We hope you will find here something that touches your mind and your heart. Wherever you may arrive on your faith journey today, know that you are welcome here. We thank you for coming. We encourage everyone to tune in to these Sunday morning services 5 to 10 minutes early in order to catch the rolling announcements. This is a good way to stay informed about things that are important in our church community.
Hola, mi nombre es Avi Arevalo, soy una mujer hondureña.
Hi everyone, my name is Avi Arevalo. I'm a woman from Honduras.
Vine a este país buscando asilo
I came to this country looking for asylum
porque sufrí violencia doméstica durante 8 años.
because I suffered domestic violence during 8 years.
Hace 2 años ustedes me dieron la bienvenida a mí y a mi familia a esta iglesia.
2 years ago, you welcomed me and my family into this church,
Con lo cual estoy muy agradecida.
and I am very grateful because of that.
Como ustedes saben, no es fácil vivir encerrados.
As you all know, it is not easy to be living in confinement.
Pues con esta pandemia todos ustedes han experimentado el estar encerrados.
Through this pandemic, you all have been able to experience what it means to be confined.
Siento que hay mucha gente que conozco
I feel that there's many people that I do know
y otra que todavía no, pero me gustaría conocer.
and many others of you that I do not know yet and I would like to get to know.
Hay diferentes formas y roles de apoyarme.
There's many different roles and ways that people can support me.
Pueden conectarse a través de mi página de Facebook
You can get connected with me through my Facebook page, Hands of Abby,
y también con el comité de santuario de la iglesia.
and also through the Sanctuary Committee of the church.
Gracias y aprecio toda su ayuda.
Thank you, and I appreciate all of your help.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Sherman Logan, and I have the privilege of serving this congregation as its executive minister. I bring you greetings from my home from the beautiful downtown of Sandston, Virginia. I would like to welcome all of you from near and far who are joining us online this morning. And if you are joining us this morning for the very first time, I invite you to place your name in the chat box and say hello, and you will receive a warm welcome from our members and friends. So thanks again for joining us this morning. Unfortunately, we cannot be together in person, but we are very glad that you are with us here in spirit and virtually. Now, as we enter into a time of worship, I invite you to come, whoever you are. Come wherever you are. Come into this place with your whole self. The parts that are raw and exposed. The part that is beaming with joy. The part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place. Open your heart. Lay down your burden. Lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey. Some faces new and others familiar. Here is where we gather in the presence of the sacred. Here is where we gather to experience the holy. Here is where together we face the unanswerable questions and acknowledge that not knowing is as sublime as it is frustrating. Here's where we unite in the midst of life and all the glories and suffering it can hold, knowing both are ever present. Here's where we ask, think, risk, discuss, ponder, and offer what might not be welcome or even acceptable somewhere else. Here's where, if we allow it, we are deeply moved. Here's where we encounter each other in deep and powerful ways that surprise us, yet without which we will not survive. Here we gather to worship, to experience something happen, perhaps something different for each of us according to our beliefs, something unnamed, uncategorized, and unusual, yet absolutely necessary. Here we are so gathered, our minds, our hearts, our souls, and so our worship began. Come and let us worship together.
Our Community Knows No Boundaries by Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by physical limits of walls, or, for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know. When we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community, we are here together in space. We see you, we hear you, we love you. And we light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together here, now.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Welcome to our house. There's always room, always enough. Your truth, the witness you bear, will make this a house of love. Welcome to whoever you are. There's always room, always enough. Ours is no caravan of despair. Will make this a house of love. Welcome to whoever you are. There's always room, always enough. Ours is no caravan of despair. Will make this a house of love. Your truth, the witness you bear, will make this a house of love.
And now for our time of meditation this morning, I bring to you a poem, Prayer for Bodies by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison, from his book of poetry, Breaking and Blessing. While we are not in the same physical space still, we have in common that we are all in our physical bodies, showing up here to worship together. So for this meditation, I invite you to settle in to your body, let your shoulders down. Just settle in a way that feels good and comfortable. If you'd like to close your eyes while I read this poem, please do. There is no life without the body. There is no prayer without the body. We invite all bodies into this space, which we make sacred with our presence, with the presence of our bodies. Your body is welcome here, holy, just as it is. How does your body feel right now? How would your body like to pray? Would you like to touch the earth? Would you like to take a smooth, easy breath? To close your eyes? Would you like to lie on the floor or simply bow your head? Here we respect all bodies and every body by waiting for consent. Do you consent to be in relationship with the sacred? Do you consent to engage with love? Do you consent to have your prayers answered? Spirit of life, we ask that you bless our bodies. We give thanks for our bodies, full of joy and wonder. We thank you for the thousands of ways we can play with, decorate, and inhabit our glorious, one-of-a-kind bodies. We ask for the strength to be shamelessly embodied. We pray to know the love that never fails, love that is unoffendable, love that fills our bodies with joy. How would you like to be with other bodies in this moment of prayer? Would you like to be touched, to hold hands, to put your hand on a shoulder or feel a hand on yours? Would you like to remain alone? Would you like to be wrapped in someone's arms? Find a way now to ask for what you want and to achieve consent in this moment of prayer. Spirit of life, we ask that you bless our desire to be connected. We long to relate to other bodies with all the love, joy, beauty, and learning possible through connection. May we be filled with gratitude for the differences among us as we learn to love with all our senses, elated by the beauty and holiness enfleshed here among and within us. Return your attention to your body, to this sacred body. Are you still aware? Are you still here with us in body and in spirit? Here there is no division, no hierarchy. You are body, You are blessed and beautiful. Bodies need not be still. Prayer need not be still. Do you want to pray by moving? Does your praying body want to stretch, breathe, dance, sway? How do you want to bless your body, which is itself a blessing to you? Embodied love, we wiggle and stretch, we hold ourselves still. We tense, we relax, we blink our eyes, we expand our lungs, our heart beats. We are grateful to be bodies. So often we forget the sacred site of our being. Help us remember our bodies are to be enjoyed, celebrated, and loved. There is no life, no prayer without this holy flesh. May we remember to treat our bodies with reverence. Together we pray and worship as bodies, all people, all creation, invited to the table set for us by love and by our ancestors. Here we give thanks for each of us, for all of us, for all the parts of us, one body, connected by covenant, which is embodied love. Blessed be.
God of many mysteries beyond our naming, Spirit of life, love, and compassion, we welcome the presence of the holy in this place as we are together today for a time of prayer. Guide us now as we are linked heart to heart in the stillness and calmness of this moment. We come before you this morning to give thanks. We give thanks for caring friends and compassionate neighbors. We give thanks for the communion of those who seek to serve others. Each of us carry our private griefs and burdens. Sometimes we can share these, and for the open hearts which respond, we are grateful. Sometimes the world bears heavily upon us, especially in these troubled times that we live. We struggle along, share the depths and long for healing, for renewed hope, for strength, which give that grace and peace. May we be strengthened in the efforts to be of service, and may we always be mindful of our lives are filled with privilege, success, and joy that are excluded to many. May our prayer be that always we see clearly and keep before us the commitment to care. And may we try always to be inclusive and open, not exclusive and narrow. On this day and every day, may we give thanks. But let us also be dissatisfied with the world as it is, for a new world is waiting to be realized. May our spirit and bodies be nourished and nurtured, and may we give thanks and praise of all that sustains, heals, and holds, all that is holy. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
used to stand by the side of a road that stretched into the past. I turned around, there were two ways to go, and the Lord to lay down at last. I saw sisters and daughters, brothers and sons. I saw the lines that divide them up. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. Everybody knows history is a bald-faced lie. It all depends on the side you're from. There is no way to ever unwind all the things already done by sisters and daughters, brothers and sons, to push some down, to rise some up. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. I wanna be there when the spaceship lands. Something crawls out that we don't understand. That's when we'll all embrace the family of man, and the rest will be forgotten. Forgotten. We the people, so many gave their lives to carry these words this far. We the people, there are times that it seems we've forgotten who the people are. They're just sisters and daughters, brothers and sons. No lines should divide them up. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side. Sisters and daughters, brothers and sons, no lines shall divide us up. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love. When they call my name, I'll be standing on the side of love.
Good morning. I am Leanne Luskin, a member here at First UU, and I am delighted to bring you a reading from Alice Walker's essay, Only Justice Can Stop a Curse. It reminds me of our value in our faith community and what we all have to offer. During my years of being close to people, engaged in changing the world, I have seen fear turn into courage, sorrow into joy, funerals into celebrations. Because whatever the consequences, people, standing side by side, have expressed who they really are, and that ultimately they believe in the love of the world and each other enough to be that which is the foundation of activism. It has become a common feeling, I believe, as we have watched our heroes falling over the years, that our own small stone of activism, which might not seem to measure up to the rugged boulders of heroism we have so admired, is a paltry offering toward the building of an edifice of hope. Many who believe this choose to withhold their offerings out of shame. This is the tragedy of our world. For we can do nothing substantial toward changing our course on the planet, a destructive one, without rousing ourselves, individual by individual, and bringing our small, imperfect stones to the pile. All we own, at least for the short time we have it, is our life. With it, we write what we come to know of the world. I believe the earth is good, that people, untortured by circumstance or fate, are also good. I do not believe the people of the world are naturally my enemies, or that animals, including snakes, are, or that nature is. Whenever I experience evil, and it is not, unfortunately, uncommon to experience it in these times, my deepest feeling is disappointment. I have learned to accept the fact that we risk disappointment, disillusionment, even despair every time we act. Every time we decide to believe the world can be better. Every time we decide to trust others to be as noble as we think they are, and that there might be years during which our grief is equal to, or even greater than, our hope. The alternative, however, not to act, and therefore to miss experiencing other people at their best, reaching toward their fullness, has never appealed to me. Only justice can stop a curse. Thank you.
It was 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon back in August of 2004. There was a tropical storm warning that Gaston was starting to make landfall in the metro Richmond area. Heavy rains and winds were headed our way. Low-lying streets were expecting to flood. Folks were told to find shelter as soon as possible. So I followed the advisory, left my office at Trinity Baptist Church, and headed towards my home in Glen Island, which was about 20 minutes away, and monsoon-like rain and gale-force winds. Unfortunately, literally hundreds of people throughout the city also took heed to that advice and decided to head towards safe shelter. My typical route home was congested and backed up for miles. Knowing a shortcut to my house, I thought if I took the side street, it would be smooth sailing. But man, I was wrong. Every street that I tried to travel was becoming quickly impassable. So I turned down the street that was usually lightly traveled, and to my horror, the street was starting to flood and became impassable. So I pulled over, and the water was quickly rising in my car. I thought that I didn't want to drown in my car. That was a slight exaggeration. So I decided to get out of my car, and once I got out of my car, I stepped into raging waters that were literally above my knees, and the gale force winds and sheets of rain were battering my face, making it impossible for me to see. When I left work, it was still daylight. When I got out my car, it was nearly pitch dark. So I used the flashlight on my phone to guide me into the darkness towards the first house that I saw. While I was familiar with the neighborhood, I didn't know anyone on the block, but I had nowhere else to turn. I lost my cell phone signal, so I couldn't call my wife to let her know what was going on, nor could I call for help. So I walked up to her house, rang the doorbell, and an elderly white woman, about in her late 70s, answered the door. And I thought to myself, oh, This woman was not going to let this strange black man in her house. We were, in fact, in the capital of the Confederacy, with some old traditions and attitude about race was still prevalent. The house was lit with flashlights and candles, and when the lady answered the door, I told her that my car had stalled and I didn't have cell service. Would it be all right for me to come in and use her phone? To my surprise, she said, "Honey, you better come in out of that rain. And of course, you may use my phone." I made several phone calls and couldn't get an answer from anyone. So I asked if I could ride out the storm until I get in touch with one of my friends. She said, "Of course you can. And we need to get you out of these wet clothes." She offered a robe and a pair of sweatpants to wear. And after I changed my clothes, she invited me to come into her parlor to sit for a spell. And I thought to myself, I can't believe this was happening, but I thank God that as I walked through one of those bedrooms to change my clothes. After I changed my clothes, we sat in the parlor, and the kind lady asked for my name, wanted to know where I lived, what did I do for a living. I told her that I worked at a church, attended seminary, studying to become a minister. Her face lit up, and she said, "You going to be a preacher? That is good to know, and I'm glad that you love the Lord." So she told me that her name was Jane Smith, and she had lived in her house for over 40 years. She was a widow. Her husband died a few years back, and she had 2 sons that lived out of the state. And for the next 2 hours, we talked about living in Richmond, our families, our churches, and our faith. She then asked if I was hungry. And I told her she didn't have to make a fuss. Plus, with the power outage, I didn't know how she was going to prepare a hot meal. But she told me that before she lost power, she cooked supper and there was plenty to share. And it was the first time in my life that I had salmon croquette. So after dinner, we returned to the parlor. The evening was getting late. You see, I've been there about 5 hours. The rain and wind started to subside, and Miss Jane said to me, "Mr. Sherman, I wasn't anticipating having an overnight guest, so you better call to see if you can get someone to come to get you." So I called one of my friends. He came by to pick me up, and as I was leaving, I thanked Miss Jane. We hugged, and I went on my way. My friends, you see, just as I was seeking shelter from the storm, refuge from the gale force winds and torrential rain, many people come to our churches seeking shelter from that personal storm, the personal storms of their lives. Some folks arrive to First UU seeking refuge from a faith community where they no longer feel welcome. Some come here seeking a spiritual home for their family. Some folks come here seeking a place that enriches their lives, to open their hearts and minds to new possibility. Here at First UU, we enthusiastically offer radical hospitality to the strangers that come into the doors of the church and those who now come to our online community seeking shelter, sanctuary, and refuge. As defined by my colleague, Reverend Marilyn Sewell, radical hospitality is an out of the ordinary, revolutionary act of making people welcome. It means to receive a stranger with a present that was not just polite, but to receive revolutionary generosity. But what does our faith community of radical hospitality do when this pandemic is turning our ordinary hospitality into an excellent way to spread a life-threatening disease? How can we practice radical hospitality while we're not gathering in person? How do we make a visitor feel welcome when our first and perhaps only time we meet is on our computer screen? How can we practice revolutionary hospitality? In our world, now more than ever, we need a radical hospitality. You see, ordinary hospitality typically entail physical presence, opening your home, sharing meals with others, sharing an adult beverage. But in these days of the global pandemic, we are called to keep others away, practice social distancing, keep our doors closed and our churches locked down for the safety of all. Even so, radical hospitality can still be at the heart of our daily routines. And while we cannot open our homes to others, radical hospitality compels us to open our hearts. These days, we may not be able to open our homes, but radical hospitalities require us to open our hearts and spirits in courageous ways for the good of all people. And when the madness of this world starts crashing through our lives, radical hospitality calls us to take courage and stand strong. Radical hospitality emerges from a deep understanding of what it is to feel unwelcome as you are, and the related pressure to conform to the community expectation and the religious tradition from which many of us have come. There are genuine warmth and spaciousness here that allow people to enter at their own pace. Radical hospitality means openness to what guests and strangers bring to us. We receive a revelation from the guests, which can change us, enrich our lives, open us up to new possibilities and way of thinking. Radical hospitality implies attentiveness to others and even anticipating their needs. And when we pay attention, we divest ourselves of self-preoccupation. To be hospitable, we must get out of ourselves and become interested in the concerns of others. And during these critical times that we are living in today, amid the global pandemics of COVID-19, racism, oppression of all types, poverty, violence, sexism, and the devaluation of Black and brown bodies, practicing radical hospitality would require all of our time and energy with no let up in sight. This time and commitment require a full investment and a willingness to suffer with our siblings on the margin. This is great work, but we do not do it alone. We will keep working it one day at a time. We need to be gentle with our mistakes and gentle with each other's mistakes. We must have the resolute to see the changes in our community. So friends, what we need today during these challenging times is the radical hospitality of the heart. A hospitality that goes beyond giving someone a meal or a bed at night, good and necessary as these things are. The hospitality of the heart that I'm talking about is much more deep and profound. The hospitality of the heart means accepting others as they are, allowing them to make themselves at home in one's heart. Being at home in another person's heart means touching love and the love of our siblings in the beloved community. Touching love of another means realizing that we all need each other to survive. Through our neighbors, our siblings, and even the strangers that we might want to welcome to our church, then we can begin to understand our love for each other. We are all feeling vulnerable to this serious illness of COVID-19. I don't know about you, but there are times that I feel frightened for members of my family, my friends, and members of our church. We all need to feel connection, a need for one another. We experience the need for the closeness as the essential act of our nature. Hospitality means opening the door into this light-giving intimacy by whatever means possible. And during these times, while we are separated physically, we can remain connected socially. My friends, I believe that in the times we are living in today, require hospitality of the heart. And during these times of separation and isolation, we can practice the hospitality of the heart by reaching out to people you haven't talked to in a while. Renew and rekindle old relations. In ordinary time, some folks might think you are being weird when you just phone them out of the blue. But these days, it is different. We are in different times. When people feel vulnerable, even disposable, it is no small joy to receive concrete evidence that they are valued by someone exactly like you. We are in one of those unusual times when a question like, how you doing, is more fraught and stand a chance of getting a real answer. That's hospitality opening the door of intimacy. And I believe that practicing radical hospitality of the heart, will require us to think about more than reaching out to old friends. Still, we should be reaching across an uncomfortable distance, even across cultural, ideological, and theological lines. The unyielding thoughts and sharp issues that ordinarily divides us soften when we share exposure to danger. Open us up to another level, more profound than our politics or religious beliefs. The surprise of hearing the concern and hearing our voices may soften a person who would otherwise be closed to you. That too is hospitality, opening the doors into intimacy. Friends, a radical hospitality of the heart, demands us to be open to each other, to share with each other, express our love for each other. This can be done only if we open the doors of our hearts. And the beauty and strength of the heart's radical hospitality is that whether on the giving or receiving end, there is a potential for enormous growth and blessings. Our beloved community can be strengthened, especially during these times when we are physically separated. Bonds that may stretch between Zoom conferences and calls can be initiated and grown. Minds can be stretched and challenged, changed, and hearts transformed. Radical hospitality is making room with ourselves and for others. This may sound daunting, but it needed be because true hospitality is the endless and boundless in how it is lived out. Radical hospitality of the heart is what this world needs now. May this be so.
Brian Stevenson tells us that the opposite of poverty is not wealth, that the opposite of poverty is justice. And if I know anything from my time in this faith community at First UU of Richmond, is how we work for justice. So for the month of August, our Share the Plate partner has been Circles RVA. And Circles RVA is a really wonderful local organization that helps folks break that cycle of poverty for themselves and for their families. They provide a social network, help with financial tools and emotional encouragement that help people like Joy, who started her own business and now sits on the board of directors at Circles RVA, and Darshay, who with help was able to get a flexible job so that she could also enroll in college courses And now we're talking about a whole new cycle of growth and positive opportunity. And it's really wonderful. So please, let's take this final opportunity. This is the last Sunday in August to reach out and share what we can with Circles RVA. You can give through the Give Plus app. You can send a text. You can go to the church website and there's a link there to donate. You can send a check to church. So we will take an offering for Circles RVA that will be put to extremely good, wonderful use here in Richmond. Thank you.
And for our benediction, as we end our time together, no matter how frightening the world has become, no matter how frightening individual circumstance of your life may be, today or maybe tomorrow, be not afraid, because the warmth of this community, our support for each other, and the memory of the childish flame shall sustain our hearts and encourage our minds as we engage the blessings of life's challenges and joy. Now go in peace, go in joy, go in love. Namaste, Ashe, Amen.
Just a little bit of hope, everybody, a little bit of hope, everyone. Oh, my heart is broken, the work is never done. You could quit every night, tired of the fight. Then up comes the morning sun, but your heart is still beating. That's where the hope comes from, just a little bit of hope. Everybody, a little bit of hope. Everyone, oh, my feet are tired. This race is barely run. You could quit every night, tired of the fight. Up comes the morning sun, and my feet they start moving, moving. That's where the hope comes from, just a little bit of hope. Everybody, a little bit of hope. Everyone, oh, my hands are weary. Work is never done. You could quit every night, tired of the fight. Up comes the morning sun, and my hands they start working, working. That's where the hope comes from. Ooh, everybody. Everyone, hands are weary, tired. Morning sun, that's where the hope comes from. That's where the hope comes from. Just a little bit of hope. Everybody. Everyone, oh, my voices falter me. This song is hardly sung. You could quit every night, tired of the fight. Up comes the rising sun. Everybody starts singing, singing. That's where the hope comes from. Everybody starts singing, singing. That's where the hope comes from. Everybody starts singing. That's where the hope comes from.